Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Next Level podcast. I am your host, Dr. Leslie. Ooh, do we have a great episode for you today. So, as you all know, I've been doing a relationship series starting off season 3. And we've been seeing coaches and we've been talking to therapists and all sorts of gurus and divorce attorneys and all the fun stuff, looking and analyzing at relationships and the culture right now and dating. And now we're kind of going a little deeper. So today and next week, I have more of a metaphysical, spiritual aspect and perspective of relationships. Mainly, we're talking about intimate relationships or romantic relationships. Today, I have an amazing guest. Welcome, welcome. We have Brother Richard Meyers, Bishop of the Order of Melchizedek. Did I say it?
Close enough.
Close enough.
It is the Order of Melchizedek.
Melchizedek. Okay. I told you I was going to butcher it. I always do. So welcome. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. You know, you're a brother, you're a bishop. How did you get your title? And tell us a little bit about that fun journey that sort of brought you into my chair.
I started as early as I can remember being into spiritual, metaphysical, things like reincarnation, astral projection. It all just made sense to me that it was real. In my 20s, I made contact with a spiritual organization known as the Summit Lighthouse, which was pivotal to help me frame up my understanding of spirituality and metaphysics. In my, I guess it was about maybe 20 years later, I went through a training program and was ordained as a priest in the Order of Melchizedek. Now, as it turns out, that ordination was really a recognition of a spiritual truth. It was not that I was made a priest. It was that the fact that I am one was acknowledged. And it's an important distinction because there are many people who are today in the Order of Melchizedek and don't know that they are, because it's a spiritual order, not a physical one.
Oh, fascinating. Okay.
As it happens, several years later, another initiation came my way, and I was able to receive the title, office, position, whatever, of bishop.
Okay. Wow, that's fantastic. So, as bishop, what do you do?
As bishop, it is very much like, if you remember the old Kung Fu TV show, where he would go about his business doing his thing, and then he'd cross paths with someone who needed help or wanted assistance of some sort. And so I have a day job, I work in high tech, I'm entrepreneurial, but when someone crosses my path that asks a question or has a need or needs healing or insight or counseling, I'm there for them. One of the key elements for me is helping others who are also members of the Order of Melchizedek remember who they are, because many are simply ignorant of that part of themselves.
Interesting. So when you run into someone or someone runs into you, they're called or however, serendipitously they find you, do you just know that they're part of the order and you're there, you're serving that purpose, and it's like, boom, okay, there's the next one. I'm going to light this person up.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. But let me expand on that just a little bit, because part of the spiritual teaching that I subscribe to is that everything that happens is divinely orchestrated, divinely intended. Everything that happens is agreed to by the soul of everyone affected by it before it happens. So when that individual crosses my path and just happens to say something that gives me the recognition, it's no accident. Their soul has very clearly, if you will, scripted that or created that as an opportunity for them to then get the wake-up call.
Okay, so this is great. This is not on my list of questions for you. Then what is your belief about free will versus, divine orchestration and not having free will, like choice versus not having a choice? Because some people believe that, if maybe they have this divine path or they have this person in their life and they think that they're supposed to be with this person and they make a choice and then, the relationship ends, since we're talking about relationships. I mean, that wasn't necessarily in the plan. How do you reconcile that? How do you
It's a great question, and I'm going to answer it in a little larger scope than you asked.
Perfect.
In the general case, every experience we have is one that is a result of the free will choices that we make. However, the options that are presented to us, you can get steak or chicken or soup.
Mm-hmm.
You have three choices. Those choices are the results of a script that your soul created for you in concert with other souls before you took incarnation.
Mm.
The whole system is like a tree or a website. At any given point, you're in a certain place on that tree, and you have certain branches you can choose from of where to go next.
Mm-hmm.
When you make that choice, a new set of choices present.
Mm.
So whether it's a job or neighbors or a relationship or friends or whatever it may be, the choices you make are a consequence of your consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
The things you care about, the things that are important to you, the pains, the hurts, the victories, your whole experience gives you let's say a predisposition to make certain choices. But ultimately, it is a free will decision, and it's yours to make as a human.
So if somebody wants to create something, let's say there's someone on a rapid acceleration in their spiritual growth, and they have big dreams, and they're on this trajectory, and they continue to meet or encounter opportunities or people or circumstances where those individuals choose not to participate in that individual's bigger plan or whatever. Can that person not be stuck? Because part of our experience is to have other people and people support us. I mean, have you ever experienced anyone that you've interacted with or in your own spiritual knowledge or readings witness people that are so accelerating, they just move through and they almost become a product, I don't want to say limited, but since there is so much free will, can someone almost be stifled because other people aren't choosing? They keep choosing, oh, well, they're out, and it can set somebody back, could it not? If they're interacting with someone and they can opt out, you know what I mean?
I believe I understand your question.
Okay.
Sometimes there are a small number of other individuals who might assist someone in having a particular experience that they need to have. Mm-hmm. Now, whether that experience is being in a relationship or not being in one or whatever it may be, and in that case, it can often seem to be more difficult or take more time for the two individuals to connect up. Mm-hmm. But there's always a plan, there's always an option. All the possible permutations are anticipated. Okay. Now, in you asking that, though, it reminded me, I left an important detail out. Sometimes two souls agree to be in a potential relationship so that one of them can play the villain and the other can suffer the consequences, and by so doing, learn not to be attracted to the one who's played the villain, or not to engage in business with the one who is playing the business.
Oh, that was me. That was me. So I wasn't the villain. I was the victim that learned to not play with those people.
Even the bad guys are good guys.
Yeah.
They've agreed to take on the karma of that interaction. Now, sometimes it's a two-sided coin in the sense that the bad guy is agreeing to have the interaction so they can learn to not be a bad guy. Mm-hmm. The narcissist could learn to love another or love themselves enough to transcend their narcissism.
Can narcissism really be transcended?
Yes, it can take a lifetime. It can take a few.
Or a few, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to dive down into this a little bit more outside the relationship thing. So when I worked in psych back in Canada in the hospitals, there are a lot of murderers and sociopaths and like pedophiles that, take on these roles or these experiences. And many of them are shamed and hate themselves and commit suicide. Like the pedophiles, they don't like that. They know that they're deviant. Can you explain that? Is that evil? Is that darkness? Was that a choice? What is the learning in that? Sorry, I threw that one on you too.
It's a perfectly wonderful question, and I'm very happy to answer it.
Okay.
The assumption in there is that pedophilia is evil, wrong, bad. And I certainly do not advocate it at all, because in my mind, anything that interferes with free will should be avoided because there's negative karma that goes with it.
Sure.
But this entire human experience is a game. It's all pretend. We are immortal, invincible, wonderful, loving beings in our soul self. We come here for experience, for growth, development, whatever. Sometimes we make choices that reinforce what we would consider negative things, earning karma. And when that happens, we have to come back again and do better next time. But the metaphor that I love to use, I say it's a game, but I don't know about you. If I'm playing a game, even if it's a game, I give it my best.
Yes,
I don't mess around with a game. I'm going to win.
Yeah.
So even though it's a game and it doesn't matter, I still, and many others, and I certainly, agree with the concept. I says, give it your best. Play your best version of yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's more fun that way.
It is. It's. This is why I'm here doing this stuff. I mean, I want to learn. I'm a sponge. I want to have my best life, and I want other people to have their best life. To choose that, not everyone chooses. But yeah, I'm here to win my game of life for sure. I want the big trophy at the end, whatever that is.
Right. So let's use narcissism as an example.
Okay.
Many women find themselves drawn into a relationship with a narcissist. That soul who's being drawn into that relationship needs to learn how to stand up for themselves, learns how to differentiate or discern between the boastfulness and the bragging and all that's part of narcissism and the true inner goodness of someone who's not. And so a soul that's in a place where they have a need to express that will say, hey, I'll play the villain. Because I'm still struggling and I need to grow, and maybe if you love me well enough, I can make incremental progress on my narcissism and get a little better at it, or maybe not. But either way, one of us will have the opportunity to win, and maybe both of us will.
Wow!
And that at the soul level, that kind of an agreement makes sense.
Okay, so really, these relationships are agreements to help each other learn and grow. Essentially.
Yes, all interactions are.
Mm-hmm. And most of them are divine, or all of them are divinely orchestrated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's make a distinction. When someone says divinely orchestrated, very often they mean the big guy with the beard on the throne, and that's not how I understand it.
Okay.
They are orchestrated by agreement of the souls involved, by the individual beings. Hey, I'm going to get born in a couple of years, how about when we get to, 2024, we cross paths and you need a guest on your show and I'll agree to show up.
Okay. So all of this you believe is sort of potentials that were agreed upon, like there's infinite possibilities of choices because people can choose. But I mean, all of this is potentially coordinated at the soul level before we even incarnate. Every little potential meeting, and maybe the meetings don't happen and maybe they will. Kind of thing?
Yes, and okay. I've wrestled myself with at what level of detail is that worked out, and I don't know.
Okay. I'm wondering if you had a perspective. I feel like there might be big, for me, again, just my own perspective, for my own sanity, it feels right to me that there are certain big events that I know are maybe orchestrated or predetermined, but some of the minutia is just like, if someone makes a decision and they're out, then there's a soul that's like, okay, it's attraction, right? It's the energetic laws, if you will, or the universal laws. It's like, okay, this person just boop, like a magnet type of thing. Makes me feel good also allows me to feel more in control, like there's choice and there's a little bit more magic that I'm not necessarily having to, follow a certain plan if the plan doesn't go. Because I'm a little bit of a control freak.
Right.
A rehabilitated control freak. I rehabilitated.
Well, again, regardless of what level of granularity is pre-planned and what is left up for pure improv.
Yeah, I like that improv.
You have the power, the capacity to choose. So even if it's literally down to minutia, you still have free will. It's still up to you to make the choice of which of the billions and billions of possibilities occur.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the case. I don't know that it's the case. One of the ideas that I kind of hold on to is there's a whole bunch in metaphysics and spirituality can get very, very complicated. And for me, I say, well, if I don't have to make a decision based on how I believe in that regard, I'm not going to worry about it.
Sure. Mm-hmm. And we can choose what we want to believe, too. We can believe we have full free will or there's no free will. We get to have that choice also.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's amazing. It's been very liberating for me because I came from a very contracted, conditioned state where I felt like I was complete victim, out of control of my destiny or what happens. It was very disempowered. And I didn't prefer that. And then in came my traumatic experience and with my own villain, good guy, and then transcended all of that. And it's, oh, wow, I'm so liberated. I feel I'm in such an inspired place in my life where I have so much choice and it's exciting. Like I see the magic, I feel the magic. And I love knowing that there's positive surprises and magic and creation in every moment. So I've literally done a complete flip. And it's fun. It's fun. You can really our belief systems dictate so much of our experience too.
Absolutely. Well, and I would like to come back just a little bit to, you said the word destiny.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people have an inner sense of being here for a reason. Mm-hmm. Now, whether that's to be, a firefighter or a cowboy or a medical doctor or a surgeon or an engineer or whatever, I have a general sense that I'm here to do this kind of thing. And most often it takes the shape of not what you want to do, but what you want to be, how you want to contribute, how you want to give back to the world. Mm-hmm. And I believe that is reflective of that soul plan. Now, nobody goes into life and says, I think I'm going to get married to a narcissist at age 22 and be with them for 4 years. And then, that kind of stuff we don't plan.
God, let's hope not.
Amen. Amen. But I know for myself, I've long had a sense of a mission of doing things that matter on the planet to make a difference. And from what I know of you, you are already demonstrating that.
Oh yeah, as much as I can, absolutely.
Right.
And I've recently slipped into this new way of being in the world. So many people are operating from motivation, right? Their motivation is I want to create X, Y, and Z because I don't want this. It's a lack mentality, right? They understand that they can change their life, they can choose, but they're motivated. Like taking massive action and doing these things. They're trying to escape the lack. They're motivated.
Yes.
I've recently, in just the last couple of months, really slid into this living from inspiration. And it's really fucked me up. Sorry if I offend you with my language, but it's in a beautiful way because I don't have to set goals. I don't have to... Things just magically are working out for me when I'm following my passion and my bliss and connecting with myself and my truth and not operating from scarcity or trying to move away from something that I don't want. I create everything. I'm very still and very quiet. I'm in sort of this beingness state where I know that I'm creating. I know that I'm creating, that I have choice.
Fundamental difference between being a problem solver and an improver. Mm-hmm. And for many, many years, my mindset in along the lines of what you were saying, my mindset was I was a problem solver. I'd find a problem and I'd figure out how to solve it. Now I'm have shifted into a mindset of how can I improve things? How can I make things better?
Yeah, that's amazing because it's the same thing. I was doing a lot of coaching. I was in the medical field. All of that, the momentum there has exited because I'm not trying to fix people. No one is really broken in my eyes. I don't need to fix myself because I'm not broken anymore. I'm just being a me, right? I'm creating. I'm in a space of creation. I just want to expand. So instead of working towards something, thinking that it's separate from me, I know it exists. I know I can create everything that I want from this now moment. So it's just a matter of being still and being in my sort of vibration of a passion. What inspires me in this moment? What inspires me in this moment? And sure enough, things just open up faster than they ever did before. And I'm doing like a third of the work that I used to. There's no more chasing. There's no more pushing. There's no more resistance. It's just flow, 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 flow. It's being completely in tune. And so it's very interesting because this kind of all shifted in, like really clicked in place in December, right when I was doing this relationship series, when I had ended a relationship with someone that was very, very, very pivotal and important to my acceleration. He was massive in helping me accelerate in my coming to where I am now. So I'm very grateful, even though it was very hard, the split. But, since I developed this relationship series and coming more into this space, I'm fascinated how now that I'm in this space of like creation and understanding how my interactions with people are going to change,
Absolutely.
The platonic relationships, the romantic relationships, it's like my whole mind and my experience is shifted. And it's like, I'm like this baby. It's like, I feel like I graduated. I'm in university now. I'm in university and I'm like, oh my God, this is like a whole new fucking world. Like, this is not 12th grade math. This is like real fun shit. I hated high school and middle school. People didn't get me. I didn't get them. You had to sit with people in your class that you didn't understand. And I didn't like to do language or math. It's like university, you get to focus on what you like to do. And it's like, it's limitless.
Yes.
So it's a very fun time of relating to people from this space.
I want to predict something. You didn't say it yet.
Uh-oh, there's a prediction here. Okay.
Not a future telling, a now telling.
Okay.
One of the shifts that very often occurs when someone goes through the change from problem solving to improving is you also shift from pre-planning and overthinking into being in the now moment and intuitively in each moment knowing what's the right thing to do and acting on it.
In every moment. I live completely in the now moment.
Yes.
So in every moment, if I'm like literally the only things that go through my head are, oh, what do I feel inspired to do now? And then I go do that. And then I do that and I'm like, oh, this is fun. And then when I get my coffee, okay, what am I inspired to do now? Oh, I'm going to go do that. Like there's no planning. It really was a mind screw for me because it's like I had to surrender to the planning. I had to surrender. It was really weird. It was very uncomfortable. I shouldn't say hard because everything was aligning me up for it, but to like make that leap into, okay, I have total faith. I have trust. I was being prepared for this moment. And then I'm like, okay, let's see if I have my own back because I'm the one creating. There's no one.
Right.
It's all a reflection of my conscience, whether you have spirit guides or angels or God or whoever all of it is just a consciousness. It's you. It's you, just the way that you're giving yourself permission slips to experience your existence, but you're an extension of it. It's an extension of you. So I'm surrendering basically to my own self, my own possibility. And it was weird and uncomfortable. I'm adjusting to it much more. I'm still settling. But like I said, I feel like I've just arrived. I've arrived at university and I've like opened up my books of possibility. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool and a little unnerving at the same time. But when I stay in this moment, stay like present, this is where the magic is. This is where miracles happen. This is where opportunities just sort of open up. But it's also, so you're right on your prediction. that it's always in the moment, the planning out the door. I could have a list of to-dos and they will get done. I trust and know because they do. And in fact, I happen to get them done in an accelerated time frame. Like I'll spend much time in contemplation, processing, integrating, creating, playing, doing all of these things. And then it's like, okay, the inspiration's done. It's like, oh, okay, I guess it's inspired to do the to-do list. Boom, 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 boom. It's like I just hammer it out in no time to get back into the moment of enjoyment. It's crazy.
It's wonderful.
It's wonderful. It really is.
And I think it was the Dalai Lama who's credited with this quote where he was saying that I normally meditate for an hour a day, but I have a lot of really important things to do today, so I'm going to meditate for 3 hours.
Yeah. That's amazing. I didn't know that.
And
really? Okay.
Yes,
well,
yes.
that makes so much sense. I mean, that's what happens with
me. And this is
me.
the spiritual truth that you're speaking to. Now, going back to the planning, it's one thing to, as you say, to create a list of to-dos. But even that is based on the fear that you might forget something.
Well, when I mean a list of to-dos, it's things that I know are in the back of my head. I actually don't keep to-do lists formally anymore. It's
Right.
just, okay, I know that, oh, it's tax season. The taxes will have to get done. I don't have to do it today. There will be a time, and I know it will happen. Just like, I knew it was on my radar, and then I'm like, oh, I should do it. Oh, okay, it's there. And then, boom, I did my taxes yesterday. Great, it was time, and I got them rattled off, and it was
Excellent.
No issue. So that's what I meant by the to-do. Like the mundane things that have to get done, but I just don't force them or plan them. They just, again, through inspiration, I know it's time, and it works out beautifully.
And that's wonderful. The reason I came back to it was to sort of anchor the point that for a lot of people who are in a limited mindset, planning comes from fear.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've been a project manager. I've run departments. I've done things where you have to do a certain level of planning, at least to set the agenda. But the dynamic organizations, I'm talking now in a business context, the dynamic organizations that explode in a good way do so because they set all those plans aside and say, what's the now moment? What's happening here and now? How do we respond?
Really? You see
Oh, yes.
that? Oh, that's interesting.
It goes back in part to the why. And you were speaking of that as well. That's also that making things better, improving. What's your why? Well, I'm going to make a lot of money, or
Right.
I want to make sick people healthy, or I want to help folks grow and evolve to the best and highest version of themselves. Well, that last one is growing.
Right.
The other two, not so much.
Right. And there's so much creativity. So I find that as I've I've been making this switch now for probably 8 or 9 months, maybe a year, from this motivation to inspiration. I Argentine Tango, and I won a champ. I had no idea what role tango had in my life. Now I see more how it's connecting with my brand and mental health research and all the amazing research there is with tango and the brain health. And brain health is very important to me and one of my bigger plans here on this planet and beyond.
I say, as someone who spent a reasonable amount of time with ballroom dancing, I can appreciate the truth of what you're saying about the tango.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean,
Yes.
I'm such a fiend for it. I'm literally addicted. And there is actually a lot of research too on the addiction, like legit addiction people get to tango because of the endorphins and the oxytocin, because it's such a provocative, emotive, connected dance, and the music. There's something very mysterious, I think, and metaphysical about tango, I swear to God, because it's so moving and captivating, and the people that are gravitated toward it's like we're all equal. There's no hierarchy. We just are expressing ourselves. And so as I've kind of shifted from this motivation into inspiration or wanting to expand and just be me without any motive, without any need, knowing that everything that I am exists now and I'm just in the process of experiencing it being realized, my creativity has just gone through the roof, and my desire to do day-to-day work has just gone. Like what I wanted to do before, I still want to do it, but in a completely different way, and it's still settling in the mix. Like what I need to do for my work, I'm still like shifting and transitioning through. And even the concept, and this is a side note, but maybe you can set insights on this, but even the financial aspect, it doesn't resonate with me in the same way either, because I'm seeing it more like time and money and space and even age. All of those things are very elusive concepts to me right now. I mean, on some of my podcasts, I've gone on record saying I've unsubscribed to aging. Since I've aligned with that, I literally physiologically, even visually, I've been youthing, I've been regenerating. And this is part of, again, what I'm here to sort of contribute to. But the concepts of abundance and how they present to me are shifting and changing too. It's not all just about the money. There's so many other ways that abundance comes to somebody other than that one construct. And that is really mind-boggling for me as well.
Absolutely. And if you live your life chasing money, you're pushing it away.
Right.
Whereas if you live your life in your highest and best sense, expressing and enjoying, then the money is drawn to you like a magnet.
Yes, exactly.
Now, I want to go back for just a little bit
Sure.
to the tango and ballroom dancing in general. One of the really wonderful aspects of that field is that it's one of the very few places in our culture today where a woman can be feminine and a man can be masculine.
Yes.
There is a different role for the male and the female, the man and the woman in the dance. And it reflects a reality. As spiritual beings, we have a polarity. As physical beings, now sometimes a feminine being can be in a male body and vice versa. But in this here now moment, you're in a body of a certain physiology, that is your biological gender, and there are certain qualities that you have an opportunity to express and master. Now, you can be very much of a leader, and leadership, creating a plan, whatever, that's all a very masculine quality. I can be very loving and kind and nurturing and helpful, and that's a feminine quality. Anyone can be male or masculine or feminine in their expression. But the dance gives us an opportunity to embrace that part of ourselves, and that's special.
It is. Yeah, that's a really great point. It's interesting because in the Argentine tango community, there's a lot of females, gender females that are taking on the leader roles because there aren't a lot of men being leaders, or they choose not to continue to improve. And women, we excel, because we love dancing, right? It's such an expressive thing. And so there are more and more women that are getting into it as leaders. So there's women dancing with women. And there's a lot of turmoil and controversy about that whole thing, with the gender, and it just whatever. I might kind of stay out of it. It doesn't really matter to me, but it's a very interesting, that's a whole other rabbit hole to go down into. Well,
but there's a parallel between dancing and sex. Because, again, the quote, norm is one man and one woman. But if two men want to dance together or have sex together, or if two women want to dance together or have sex together, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Just because there's, quote unquote, a norm or a usual or whatever,
right,
that doesn't have to limit what people can choose to do.
Yeah, no, I love that. And actually, that's a great segue to the next question. So in some of my other guests, we've talked about monogamy versus polyamory and having open relationships and different types of things. So what is your perspective, the spiritual perspective of sex? The meaning and what happens, if anything, that you believe, spiritually when people have sex?
All right. Sex, there are many words in English that are actually accurately or otherwise, they are, and I'm blanking on the word right now. Abbreviations is not the word I want. Anyway, I'm going to come back to it.
Okay. Yeah. Like slang words?
No. The letters.
Like an acronym?
Acronym is
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Sexual exchange, and X is if you will, a table or a place, an altar. Sex is the exchange of sexual energy, of sacred energy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good thing, but when you have physical intimacy, it's not just body fluids that are exchanged. It's also your auric light energy. Mm. And so if you are in a relationship with one other person and you're monogamous, then that exchange is stable, if you will. Mm-hmm. If you're in a polyamorous, stable relationship, and again, it's stable, then you're simply agreeing that you're having that intimate interaction with more than one person.
So what does it mean by stable?
Well, stable may not have been exactly the best word, okay, but it is that. But the quality of it is that we're here in incarnation for our spiritual growth and development and evolution. We're drawn into relationship with people, and if you will, in the mundane sense, the sex is the glue that keeps people together, interacting with each other so they can have whatever the dynamic is that they, at the soul level, want to have.
So it's like the bait.
Yes.
If you will. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. It's a great bait. Very, very smart.
Highly effective.
Highly effective.
Now, it also, of course, leads to offspring, and that's a whole nother aspect of it and another dimension of it. But staying in the context of polyamory or whatever, one spiritual practice that I've spent many years studying is known as Tantra, Tantric Yoga. And within that context, we learn a form of unconditional love that it's like, I can say, Leslie, I love you, and mean it.
Right.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean I want to bed you.
Right, right.
That may or may not be something that makes sense.
Sure.
Or is of interest or whatever.
Right, right.
And I can say to,
Travis
over in the
we
corner
love
there.
you. I love
Travis,
you, Travis.
I love you, Travis.
Oh, I love you too, man.
But we don't want to take you to bed.
Oh,
yeah.
No?
No.
Oh,
Pretty much not.
Pretty much not.
So the question is not, do you love this person, but rather, how do you want to express the love that you feel for this person? Mm. When you change the question, you get different answers. That's
amazing, because like so many of my friends, like I understand now because I am love and I get the whole love thing and the unconditioned love. The people that are in my life, I love them because I choose that. I chose to have people in my life that will reciprocate and I can love and they can love me back. And it's a girlfriend or a platonic guy friend or my dance partner or whatever. Like, I love them all and I tell them I love them, but I don't want to sleep with my girlfriend Gina. I love her, but no, thank you.
Right. Well, yes. And again, the historical mundane perspective is that you only love your partner, your beloved, mm-hmm. or that there's that kind of love. I mean, right. We all know there's a father, daughter, father, son, mother, there's mm-hmm. all sorts of kinds of love, but sure. the general, do you love me or not, is taken to be romantic, mm-hmm. and that it can only be for one person.
Right.
But for those of us that have been on a spiritual path or otherwise acquired the capacity to do so, we recognize that we can genuinely love more than one person mm-hmm. at the same time. And even in that special way that says, I would love to spend more time with you. I would love to interact with you in a bigger way than I have in the past. And that might involve exchanging pleasure by mm-hmm. being together intimately. It might not. That's really a matter of the consciousness of the people involved.
Right.
In terms of polyamory, the key thing is that everybody involved has to be in a place where they can sustain that. Mm-hmm. If someone does it because they're feeling pressured, right. they really want monogamy, but their partner is insisting, that's not a healthy, for all involved situation. That's a problem waiting to happen. But the spiritual teaching I understand is that there's nothing inherently wrong with it.
Yeah.
We do have a masculine and feminine polarity, the so-called twin flames. As, one being that was created and then somehow got split into two individual souls that are still somewhat connected.
Mm-hmm.
And our whole history, culture of marriage is, one-on-one is an attempt to reunite with our twin flame.
So is that really what that whole twin flame thing is about? Do they really come back together? Because I have someone next week who's going to be talking about it, but I'm here and I want to, exchange with you about this. There's so much online about twin flames and girls being obsessed about their guy. Who knows if they really are their twin flame? Like, it's just it's
a fairy tale story.
It is a fairy tale story.
That you've got to be with your twin flame.
Right. And you don't.
That's not always the highest and best
That's right.
experience for you, for your soul.
Mm-hmm.
So take an example of a soul. I'm just going to use George Washington as an example. Okay. Now, he had a big job to do. He had a big mission to do, and he needed certain qualities in his partner to do that mission. Now, I don't believe Martha Washington was his twin flame. I believe she was what's known, well, the labels don't matter. The label I learned was soulmate, but people use that term for other things. But I believe that she, at the soul level, not human, but at the soul level, she agreed to said, okay, you're going to take on this job and be general and father of the country and first president and all these things, and I will stand by your side and I will support you so that we together can make that thing happen. Mm-hmm. And that is a special kind of relationship that souls agree to and get into. Mm-hmm. Sometimes if a soul has a big mission, that's the most important thing, and that preempts being with a twin flame. Mm-hmm. Other times, a soul has a big wound. They have a big lesson to learn, or something that is really blocking them in their development. And so they need to have what's called a karmic relationship with, as we were talking before, let's say with a narcissist, so that they can rise above it and transcend the wound, heal the wound, whatever. And so being with your twin flame isn't always the very best thing for you in your soul's journey.
Right.
Ultimately, when you're done playing human and you go back to being a soul eternal, mm-hmm. you and your twin flame reunite. Mm. At the soul level, you're always, proverbially two sides of the same coin.
Sure.
But the human experience, you don't, and I guess let's use dancing as an example. You have a dance partner, but you don't always have to dance with them.
Right. Yes, exactly.
And it's not always the best for you to dance with them because maybe there's a new move you're working on.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I'm in this point too where, this ideal that more primally women like, oh, I want my husband to dance. I want to dance with him, blah, blah. And so now being in Tango and wanting to really, excel more with it, I had this idea too, how do I want my partner to be my lover too, which is the relationship that I was in before. And it gets very convoluted and challenged. And as I kind of sat with it, more and more synchronistic information came to me. And it's actually not the best thing. So it's kind of going along with the twin flame. Just because you might have a lover or have someone in your life, they may not be the person that's going to fulfill your mission of performing or dancing or doing all the things. And keeping those two separate are actually ideal. Not just...
Well, in your particular case with your particular partner today.
Yes.
Another couple in another time, it might be perfectly correct for them to be together.
Yes, exactly.
It's really very hard to come up with hard and fast rules about this.
True.
I find it much more helpful to understand that it's all good.
Yeah, no, for sure. For those of us who kind of were open to this information, with twin flames and all of that stuff, and had sort of the experience with that journey, there's so much bullshit out there that's feeding women and actually, one of my girlfriends told me that there's this documentary about, I don't know, twin flame universe or something like that. And they basically bamboozled a bunch of people thinking they were twin flames. And I mean, as you know, when people find a niche, they then exploit it, you know, which has made spirituality and many other things. Like I see it even in the weight loss community, Ozempic. Everyone's on Ozempic because it's the fad thing or whatever. But, you know, it can be so damaging and dangerous and toxic, some of these, you know, labels we use. But for me, where I'm at after all of my experiences, karmic, twin flames, soulmates, whatever, I've arrived at this place where it's me. I'm creating. I know what I'm here to do. I've surrendered to needing another, knowing that this is all my playground and everything that I need will come to me, irregardless of who or what. I don't even like labels anymore. I just kind of threw them all in the trash. It took a lot for me, though, to deprogram myself because there was so much about the twin flame, that's it. And then when you arrive at that, you're like, what the fuck? This is what it is? Oh my God.
Well,
okay. This is not the romance that everyone, you don't want this, people. You don't, firstly, it's a challenging interaction to have. I mean, thankfully I had some karmic experience that allowed me to do a lot of my work before I, you know, got into this particular situation. But, so it didn't impact me in so much negatively. I accelerated quickly. He, on the other hand, I think is much more, you know, impacted. But I'm like, I had to really decondition myself from, you're supposed to be together. It really creates an obsession, and it's really not healthy.
Well, it's a romantic fairy tale.
Yes.
Okay,
We're fed that though as girls, like Disney, the fairy tale ending.
You know what, Leslie? It's not just as girls.
Oh, the boys get it too.
We get it too.
What's your fairy tale?
Well, Snow White and Prince Charming.
Oh, okay. Save the girl.
Yeah.
Oh. I never thought of it that way. You guys were fed some bullshit too.
Well, you know, love eternal, highest and best.
Yeah.
Your perfect partner. You can throw different labeling on it and packaging on it, but what it comes down to is it's not always the best for you, even though it's a very attractive image that's been created. And people do get stuck in that. And you know, I'm happy to be able to say this for anyone who's out there listening. It's not always the highest and best for you to be with your twin flame.
Yeah.
I personally met mine. We actually had a several-month relationship, and then she chose to be with the man that she was with when we met, and she left him to be with me and then went back to him. And that was 20 years ago.
Yes.
And it still hurts, but I do know that that was the right choice for her because she made it.
Yes, and same with me. I had a several month with mine and accelerated enormously, and many wounds were illuminated. I brought him online. It was really wonderful. But with where I'm going in my trajectory and where he is at, you know, we gave each other an amazing gift, but now it's like, you know, it was sad, but at the same time, I also know that there's so much he needed to learn, and I'm glad that I can grace him if he chooses to learn. Great. If he doesn't, great. But to let go of that and to be like at peace and go, oh, okay, now I experience what's supposed to be the ultimate and I get it. Now I'm totally free. Now I'm totally liberated to love and be and create without needing to find that ultimate. There is no ultimate. It's me living my highest. And that's what all of this is supposed to really serve us. It's not about finding the person that's codependent and needy. You learn from your experience, hopefully, to come into your own self and find yourself and go, oh my God, this is all my playground. It's not about anybody else.
As you said, it's not about finding the right person. It's about being the right person.
Right. Yeah.
Now, before we get too far away from twin flames, I just want to kind of throw this out for anybody that's an old movie fan. The dynamic of Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn in their several movies together. They were, in fact, those humans were twin flames, are twin flames. and the dynamics that they acted out, where at first there's head bumping and yelling and screaming and whatever, and then ultimately they get to that peace, which is a beautiful, wonderful, good thing.
Yeah.
And being with your twin flame can be magnificent.
It's very magic. It's like nothing else. The magic is like out of this
very
world.
Special.
But it's
not always the highest and best
right.
for either
Truly.
or both of you. And recognizing that is a certain level of maturity.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's brilliant. I love that, our stories are very similar with our experience there. This is the first time I've gone on record talking about twin flames, because it's such a people think it's so fluffy and there's so much, bullshit out there about it. But it's like it's a real experience for those of us who have it. It's like you can't deny it, and it's not what it's cracked up to be. Like, don't even wish to meet them. I did for a long time, and it's like, wow. I'm grateful because I had experiences that wasn't so traumatizing for me. But wow.
All right. So by way of parallel, if you're playing one of the many games where you have a dice that you roll and you get to different squares, it's very easy to say, I want to roll a 6. I always want a 6 because that takes you the furthest. But you don't know if that 4 might land you on a square that you draw the card and it says move forward 12.
That's right. Or you go up the ladder
right.
to like the end. Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
So you can have this strategy that says, oh yeah, twin flame's the best. But it's not always, and you don't know what the other options are when you close the door to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's just so much conditioning. I feel so, I don't want to say bad. I have so much empathy for people who are caught in that, because I was for a long time. And like my heart goes out because it's so much pain when you feel stuck and you're chasing something. And it's really about the chase of someone when you really just need to find yourself. Like that's like the whole point of it. But to really get that and really do that, like you have to break apart. So amazing.
Right. Well, and as you get to where you really love yourself, it becomes easier.
Yes.
Because for a lot of people, they're looking for someone else to love them because they don't feel that they are themselves worthy of love. So they want validation from someone else.
Right.
I know a guy who used to feel that way.
I know a girl who used to feel that way.
And it's a matter of growth and evolution. But when you're still not feeling okay, not feeling lovable, you want that fairy tale answer.
Right.
When you come to really love yourself and appreciate yourself, then that goes away and it becomes possible to be loving with everyone. And again, it's a matter of how you choose to express it.
Right. Yeah, I love it. I'm just lighting up when you say that. It's so beautiful. Okay, so I have a couple more questions before we wrap up here. So we had talked a little bit before the show about divorce and why there's so much divorce going on these days. So,
So the quick and dirty phrase is that the days are shortened for the elect. We are now in a time that, if you ask a mainstream Christian, they'll tell you it's the end days. We're in the the 2-minute warning of the fourth quarter of our journey and our evolution. We're at the age of Aquarius. It's a time of enlightenment and awakening, and people are accelerating in their spiritual progress. And so, whereas a couple would come together in the past, 100, 200, 500 years ago, for their whole life, because that was the time it took to have the experience that they needed. Today, that's not the case. Today, a relationship can be fulfilled in months.
Right. Yeah.
And it didn't fail. People will say, well, the relationship failed. No, it didn't fail. It completed.
So, right. And I love that. And that's how I see them too. So knowing this, when we go, those of us who are sort of awake and aware, how do we, and I guess some of it just comes with the conscious state that we're in, but people that may be teetering and like maybe codependent and trying to figure out how to come into themselves, how can they take that information knowing that it may not be a forever relationship, to be okay with it? How do they get invested, but also not, or knowing and being okay with maybe that resolution? I know where I'm at, it's okay. But for people, my listeners that may be like, oh my God, like, so my fairy tale, we've totally crushed everyone's fairy tale today. Sorry, but this is reality as you evolve. You're all going to get there one day, maybe not this lifetime. But any words of advice of how to manage that?
Well, there's a guy named Siddhartha Gautama Buddha who observed many, many years ago that attachment is the cause of
Suffering.
hurt, of suffering, of pain. And so in your example, if they're attached to a particular outcome and it doesn't occur, they can have suffering. They can have pain.
Right. It all comes back to that moment.
Right.
Being in the moment. Yeah. Okay.
If the mindset is, I'm here now, and yes, I have some goals, I have some things I want, but if I can just focus on being the best, most loving version of myself every minute, then what unfolds is divine timing, divine intention, divine orchestrated. It's the highest and best. And again, if you approach life to say, what can I do to encourage the highest and best for all involved? If your mindset is, well, how do I get some for me? Then that's a limited mindset, and it's going to produce a negative outcome.
Right.
If your mindset is, how do I contribute to the highest and best for all of us, then everybody wins.
Right.
And that's a good thing.
I love that. That's a great suggestion going into it. Now,
actually, there's one more thing I do want to add to that.
Sure.
There is a spiritual teaching that has to do with what's known as the void. The void is a space of absolute darkness into which anything that you cast just goes away. Now, it's also a space from which you can pull anything you want.
Yeah, I was going to say, I call it the void of infinite possibility or creation.
It's exactly so.
Yes.
It's a void in which you can release and from which you can pull whatever you want. And so as a real tactic, you know, I've lived a human life and I've had some disappointments along the way. And when things come up for me, I allow myself to experience the emotion. And I will sit and I will cry or whatever it is that is being called upon. But as it's coming up, I consciously cast it into the void. And I visualize and I see this, ball of whatever it is gone.
Beautiful.
And that's a form of releasing. It's a very powerful technique.
I love that.
And when I'm trying to get a handle on what it might be, one of the things that I do is I try to find a short phrase that triggers me. So I don't want to be alone. If that hurts, then that's a thing that is there for me. Or I don't want to have someone interested in me just because I'm X, Y, I'm beautiful, wealthy, young, whatever. Find the phrase that triggers you, and then that tells you that's the hurt, that's the wound, that's the thing. It's just like a doctor says, it hurts here? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's really amazing exercise to do. Actually, I think I might adopt that and see.
You're welcome to it.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I invite all of you out there listening to give that a try too. That's a really nice strategy to add to your toolkit.
Yeah, so when you're feeling down and hurting, getting specific can be very helpful, because then allows you to know what it is you want to let go of, what it is you want to heal. And you will find, I have found, that when you do that, today's I don't want to be alone doesn't hurt anymore tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or in a week or a month or however long it takes to work through it. But the thing that used to hurt doesn't. And that's how you know you've healed that wound.
Yeah, amazing. Ooh, I love that. It was a goodie. All right, my last question sort of revolves around children. So I'm going to kind of briefly summarize what we talked about so we can kind of get to the good part of this. So we talked a little bit about the repercussions of all these divorces and relationships starting and breaking with children and the impact that it's having on them. There's a lot of research that suggests as long as, children, the parents of the children that are from either a separate home or a together home are happy, the children will thrive. It's when the parents aren't doing well, whether they're together or apart, can children suffer. But I just wanted to get, you shared with me your perspective that the children sort of agreed to that before they came in, that they were going to experience, a family that was divorced or, whatever lesson learning they had to go through. Do you have any insights of what that is going to do for the children as they come of age and become adults, what that might look like for them, their relationships. Are they going to continue to accelerate? Are we going to see more polyamory? Are we going to see no marriage? Are we going to stop reproducing? Is Elon Musk right? And we're just going to like unreproduce ourselves into nothingness?
Elon Musk is right about many, many things.
Okay.
I don't agree with him about that.
Okay. I don't either. I have my own perspective. I'm not going to get into it, but let's hear your perspective.
Let's begin with this. In general, the days are shortening for the elect. It's a time of acceleration. It is also the case that there are souls coming into incarnation with characteristics and qualities that have not been seen before in any large number, and these are the indigo children. Now, I happen to be an indigo frontrunner. I was born well before the indigo spurge or splurge or whatever, but I have the qualities of an indigo. There are crystal children. There are rainbow children. There's all these labels that are put on for certain characteristics and qualities that today's children have. They are likely to be more enlightened. How that plays out, I don't know.
I know, it's an exciting mystery.
But I do want to come back to what you said, because I think it bears repeating. Yes, from a human standpoint, children will do much better and develop much healthier beings if they have active parenting from both partners. And I'll even say it a little stronger. They really need a masculine and a feminine parent. Now, again, without regard to biological gender, you can have two men being one masculine and one feminine, but they need both sides of that equation for balance.
In fact, in my situation, their father is much more the feminine, the nurturer. I'm the one who I don't live with them. They go to me. I problem solve. I'm like the provider.
Right. And so people do often confuse male
gender,
and masculine, and they're not the same.
Right.
But as you said, as I said, you quoted me.
Yes.
Round and round. Everyone, the souls of everyone involved have agreed to everything that happens. So the children being born today are being born knowing what the plan is for their parents at the soul level. Now, we haven't talked about this, but I'm going to go there. I was adopted at birth. My birth mother was 17. Birth father was 20, 21. They weren't married. And I grew up feeling unloved because of that. Now, I've come to understand that the reason was there was not a single pair of parents that could give me the nature and the nurture. And so it's not less love, it's more love. I have 4 people loving me as a parent, not just 2.
Right.
And so for those who are struggling with the dynamics and the equation, it's not always what it appears to be. And there's very often deeper, higher love present than a child is able to see as a child.
Yes.
But as they grow up and, yes, maybe they have to go through therapy or do some inner work or whatever it is, but they can find the healing that came from it and look at it as a blessing, not a curse.
Right. That's so amazing, because I've said that with my kids too. It's a very unique situation that we're in. They live with their father and their stepmom, and they have so much support, and they're very unique children. They have incredible talents, some challenges that are going to they're very unique. They have very, very particular purposes, very awake children already. And they have all of these adults just loving them and giving them that I couldn't do when I was raising them by myself. It was their energy was too much. Not too much. It was beyond what I could solely give them. It was not in their highest good. They have all of the support, and it's so beautiful, and they recognize it. Though I recognize it, we all see it. So thankfully, in my situation, that my kids are, given that support, and we all are aware, and we're not seeing it in such a negative light. I know it's not like that for everybody, but I love that perspective that you had so much. I mean, you're here doing some amazing work, and you needed the love of many people to support you. So that's awesome. Well, that is time. Look at that. An hour went by just like that. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's been delightful. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Well, you guys, I hope you learned some beautiful things today. I'm so apologetic if we crushed your dreams about many of the relationship ideas, but I promise you, one day you will understand and it will click and you will be liberated and you will find this amazing life with yourself and creating in the most profound and beautiful way. So, all right, until next time.